Mayor, it looks like we have a full council.
Okay, we're ready to go then?
Yes.
Okay, welcome to the regular Santa Rosa City Council meeting of September 29th, 2020. Madam Clerk, could you please do a roll call?
Yes. Councilmember Dowd?
Here.
Councilmember Tibbetts?
Here.
Councilmember Sawyer?
Here.
Councilmember Rogers?
Here.
Councilmember Olivares?
Here.
Vice Mayor Fleming?
Here.
Mayor Schwedhelm.
Here.
Let the record show that all council members are present.
Okay, although we did make some adjustments to this agenda, we still have many of our standing items. So this is a reminder to keep, for council members, keep your audio on mute unless you're speaking. Staff will remain muted until needing to speak. And as members of the public join the meeting, you'll be participating as an attendee. Your microphone and camera will be muted. Only today's panelists will be viewed during the meeting. If you're calling in from a telephone and choose to speak during the public comments portion of today's agenda for privacy concerns, the host will be renaming your viewable phone number to a resident in the last 4 digits of your phone number. The City of Santa Rosa is committed to creating a safe and inclusive environment free from disruption. We will not tolerate any hateful speech or actions and are well staffed to monitor that everyone is participating respectfully or they will be removed. If necessary, we'll also immediately end the meeting. Madam Clerk, could you explain how public comments will be heard during today's meeting?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. After each agenda item is presented, the mayor will ask for council comments and then open it up for public comment. The host in Zoom will be lowering all hands until public comment is opened for the agenda item. Once the mayor has called for public comment, the mayor will announce for the public to raise their hand if they wish to speak on the specific agenda item. If you are calling in to listen to the meeting audibly, you can dial *9 to raise your hand. The host will then call on the public who have raised their hands. Public comment will be limited to 3 minutes and a timer will appear on the screen for the council and the public to see. Once all live public comments have been heard, the meeting host will play voicemail public comments. If you provide a live public comment on an agenda item, but also submitted an email, e-comment, or recorded voice message public comment, your email, e-comment, or voice message public comment will not be duplicated, read, or played during the meeting. Additionally, there are 2 public comment periods on today's agenda to speak on non-agenda matters. This is a time when any person may address the council on matters not listed on the agenda, but which are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council.
Thank you for providing that information. So we did have closed session items scheduled, item 2.1. That has been continued to a future meeting date. Additionally, our study session for enhanced infrastructure financing districts, item 3.1 is also continued to a future meeting date. We do have a proclamation. I'll call item 6.1. And Mr. City Manager, do you want to introduce that or have Mr. Olivares just read?
I can introduce it and then turn it over to Mr. Olivares to read. Item 6.1, Proclamation Fire Prevention Week.
Thank you all. And I guess, I don't know if this is appropriate for today, maybe it is, but with all the devastating fires going on around us, this is a reminder about fire safety at home, which can be very devastating as well to homes across the country and of course here locally. But whereas the City of Santa Rosa is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living and visiting Santa Rosa, and whereas fire is a serious public safety concern, both locally and nationally, cooking fires represent the leading cause of U.S. home fires, with nearly half, about 49% of all home fires involving cooking equipment and unattended cooking. And whereas these fires resulted in an average of 550 civilian deaths and 4,820 civilian injuries reported annually in the United States from 2014 to 2018, according to the National Fire Protection Association. And whereas ranges and cooktops were involved in 61% of reported home cooking fires, 87% of cooking fire deaths, and 78% of cooking fire injuries nationwide. And whereas Santa Rosa's residents should keep a close eye on what they are cooking and never leave cooking unattended. Whereas residents should keep oven mitts, wooden utensils, food packaging, towels, or curtains at least 3 feet away from stovetops. And whereas the 2020 Fire Prevention Week theme, Serve Up Fire Safety in the Kitchen, works to better educate the public about where potential cooking hazards exist and basic but critical ways to prevent them. Now, therefore, we resolve that Tom Schwedhelm, Mayor of the City of Santa Rosa, on behalf of the entire City Council, urges all the residents of Santa Rosa to be aware of cooking fires and to support the many public safety activities and efforts of Santa Rosa's fire and emergency services during Fire Prevention Week, and does hereby proclaim October 4th to the 10th, 2020 as Fire Prevention Week.
Thank you for that. Are there any questions from council? I also see that our Assistant Fire Marshal has his hand raised for comments. Would we like to allow him to make some comments?
Hey, thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Yeah, the timing of this is a little unique, but it is important for us. Due to the pandemic, we were not going to be able to get into our schools, which is an area that we really have needed to get into year after year. So we're appreciative of this quick opportunity. I do have online with me Daisy Vargas, our bilingual community outreach specialist. We will be, in lieu of getting out to our schools with the fire now, as well as the pandemic, we will be doing a live Facebook opportunity for our community and for our children across Santa Rosa, both in English and in Spanish on Thursday, October 8th. So more information to follow from the city of Santa Rosa. And Daisy?
Thank you so much, Mayor. I'd also like to say bilingual education, so for any Spanish-speaking audience that we have. Primeramente, mi nombre es Daisy Vargas, trabajo en el Departamento de Bomberos de la ciudad de Santa Rosa. Esta semana nos queremos enfocar, y especialmente el mes de octubre, en la Semana de Prevención de Incendios, que va a ser de octubre 4 a octubre 10. Uno de nuestros enfoques es traer información bilingüe, al igual que en inglés y en español. Entonces, usualmente nosotros vamos a las escuelas para poder hacer asambleas y educar a los niños sobre la prevención de incendios. Es una situación única que estamos viviendo, no vamos a poder hacer eso, pero por favor conéctense en las redes sociales. Tenemos Facebook, al igual que Instagram y Twitter, ahí si nos buscan. Entonces vamos a estar haciendo esa información disponible en las redes sociales y al igual muchos videos en Facebook sobre la educación. Y muchas gracias. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Paul and Daisy, for sharing that additional information. Any questions from council while we have Paul on the line and Daisy? Okay, we are now taking public comment on item 6, the proclamation. If you wish to make a comment via Zoom, please raise your hand. If you're dialing in via telephone, please dial *9 to raise your hand. Madam Host, would you please facilitate public comment on item 6?
A countdown timer will appear for the convenience of the speaker and viewers. The first speaker will be acknowledged and invited to speak when the countdown begins. Please make sure to unmute yourself when you are invited to do so. Your microphone will be muted at the end of that countdown. Mayor, seeing no hands raised. There were no voice message and no email or e-comment public comment on item 6 proclamations.
All right, thank you very much. On to item 7, staff briefings. Mr. McGlynn, we have a report on items. Oh, Mr. Dowd, do you have a question?
Well, because we've not been able to get together, I do have to ask you, Mr. Mayor, could we have a report out on how all of the members of the council including yourself, have been in this, have they had to evacuate, or is everybody's home safe or whatever? I'd just like to have a report out on that.
Great, because that ties right into item 7.1, the glass fire update. So why don't we get the update from our city manager, and then if any council members want to share their information, more than happy to entertain those comments.
Okay.
Council, thank you. I'm going to give a brief update, and then I'm going to ask Chief Gosner and Chief Navarro to do so, and then they're going to be released so they can get back to the essential life safety missions that they and their teams are involved in. The city of Santa Rosa continues to be impacted by the glass fire, which swept through into eastern Santa Rosa on Sunday night. It has burned over 42,000 acres in Sonoma and Napa counties, and it continues to be 0% contained. As of Monday evening, more than 68,000 people have been evacuated in the county. Temporary evacuation points have been established to provide resources and information, screenings for COVID-19 symptoms, and referrals to the appropriate sheltering location. For a good piece of news, this morning CAL FIRE reported a decrease in the winds and this has assisted firefighting efforts overnight. This has led to additional good news, which is in coordination with CAL FIRE and Santa Rosa Fire Department. The Santa Rosa Police Department has lifted evacuation warnings and downgraded some evacuation orders. Again, some evacuation orders. Information about the orders that have been downgraded or lifted can be found at srcity.org/evac updates. This morning, CAL FIRE reported 28 homes in Sonoma County have been destroyed by the glass fire. This is a preliminary number, and damage assessments for the city have not yet been completed. But we know that some homes were lost, and we are working to assess this situation. Some areas of Santa Rosa have also experienced extended power outages due to the glass fire. Residents should be careful and follow precautions for possible food spoilage. For those who may have lost food due to the power outage, the city is working with its community partners to plan a food distribution event to be held later this week. More information will be provided soon. For the latest updates about the glass fire, please visit srcity.org/glassfire. On a separate note, the PG&E Settlement Fund's virtual community meeting planned for Wednesday evening has been postponed, and we will reschedule as soon as possible. We will reassess the schedule of all public meetings and provide an update soon. And the next person I will turn it over to is Chief Gosner.
Hello, Mayor Schwedhelm and council members. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, I just want to start out by saying thank you for all the support from all of you as well as the community. As you know, Sunday night we had the glass fire has spotted over and was burning in the remote hills above Santa Rosa and quickly found its way into Santa Rosa. I will tell you that the department, we did on top of opening the EOC and getting everyone prepared for that event. We didn't know it was going to happen or not. But everything was put into motion. We recalled the entire department. I would tell you all those folks are still on duty, and we're working to switch some crews out so we get some appropriate downtime. Most everyone's been working since Sunday morning at this point, or been awake since Sunday morning. The crews have been doing a fantastic job for the citizens of Santa Rosa. They're happy, they're upbeat, they're tired, but it was a long night Sunday. A very busy morning into Monday morning and the rest of the day. I will just reiterate that we do have active fire in Annandale State Park. That is concerning, as it could, we have two different parts of the city that border that park. And I will say that we just got off a weather report saying that Wednesday and Thursday was going to be a red flag condition. So that is going to come with temperatures of over 100 degrees as well as some wind. And we have 40,000 acres that is on fire at this point between Napa and Sonoma. So it's going to be a very challenging week. on top of everything we're doing. I will say that the fire looks really good on the Sonoma side. So the lower Santa Rosa, while there are some hot spots out there, everything's looking really good. Lots of tactical patrol, lots of crews from Santa Rosa in the county and around the state. We even passed somebody from Montana today. So there are more crews in and about the fire. And we just, we really need the weather to cooperate this week to get through yet another bout of weather that is coming. And as the city manager noted, that everything from basically Calistoga west has been open to repopulation in one form or another. So with that, I think I'll stop there unless there's any additional questions for me. Thank you.
Chief Navarro.
Good afternoon, Mayor and council members. Try to be brief. We began getting calls about the fire after we had some communication with the fire department on Sunday night, and around 9:30, I was called to get advised about what was happening. We made the decision to recall all of our sworn staff to assist in patrol efforts to conduct evacuations and traffic control. And about 10 o'clock at night, it really started ramping up for us. We put somebody into our city EOC, and then we activated our Department Operations Center. And as staff began coming in, we were sending teams of 10 out at a time to different areas, beginning our evacuations. We did a couple of rounds of evacuations in the evacuation zones. The first one was number one through our social media platforms, and then officers utilizing the high-low sirens on our patrol vehicles going through the areas to make sure people understood the seriousness of what was going on. After the initial evacuation, we had to address some traffic control issues on Highway 12 with the vast amount of people trying to get out, which was alleviated after about an hour or so. And as the fire came through, many of our officers were actually stuck in Oakmont for a brief time because of the danger on Highway 12. But fire crews did an amazing job, and we were able to get people moved out. We did assist in bringing some of the community members in Oakmont over to the community center there to get onto the transit buses. So it was a team effort by all city personnel who were able to get the members of the community who couldn't drive to get out of there. And then our officers, as they were working in the areas, not only were they evacuating people, but they were and dealing with traffic control, but they were coming across spot fires that they were trying to deal with to help save some of the houses and to prevent some of the fire moving on as fire crews were dealing with the bigger ones. And so several of our officers were grabbing fire or garden hoses out of backyards and front yards, trying to limit the amount of spread. And so it was they were able to save a few houses and then, or at least put it on hold until the fire department got there. So our staff did an amazing job out there for the first night. The next day we did go to an emergency shift staffing operation, and that's a 12 on, 12 off schedule. We're going to remain on that schedule for the remainder of the week, and we're continuing to evaluate the needs for public safety. We're utilizing mutual aid right now, and we have enough staffing to address not only the evacuation areas and looting patrol and traffic issues, but also calls for service throughout the rest of the city. And I think I'll stop there unless you have any questions.
Council, any questions for either of the chiefs? Seeing none, thank you too. Mr. McGlynn, was there additional report items on this item?
there is nothing else to report. Thank you.
I just have one question too. Could you update council about the temporary evacuation centers? Because I know we did not experience that in 17 or 19.
I can provide some detail. These are location arts. They're spread through the county. The one that the city of Santa Rosa ran was at Place to Play and continues to be a Place to Play. This is a site where we can, in the current pandemic environment, redirect folks in an evacuation scenario to the appropriate sheltering facility. And a lot of those folks went to County Vets Hall, and some of them are being sheltered right now out of our own Fenley Center.
Great, thank you for that update. Okay, Council, are there any additional comments about this report or the glass fire that you would like to make? Seeing none, thank you so much. Mr. McGlynn, do you have a city manager's report for us this evening?
I do not have a city manager's report.
Okay. Madam City Attorney, any report?
I do not have a report either, but I would express all of our appreciation to both all the folks out fighting the fires and all of our public safety people, and in addition, all of the folks that are over manning the EOC and keeping us moving forward. So thank you.
Absolutely. And Mr. Dad, you have something to say, because I would like to go back real quick and just do public comment on item 7. So Madam City Clerk, can we go back, sorry, and go to item 7.1 and see if there's any public comment?
Yes, the Zoom host will see if we'll bring that up right now.
Thank you, Mayor. A countdown timer will appear for the convenience of the speaker and viewers. The first speaker will be acknowledged and invited to speak when the countdown begins. Please make sure to unmute yourself when you're invited to do so. Your microphone will be muted at the end of that countdown. To raise your hand via Zoom, if you are dialing in via telephone, please dial *9 to raise your hand. And this is your opportunity to speak on item 7, staff briefings. Okay, Mayor, seeing no hands raised. Excuse me, there were no voice message or email or e-comment public comment on this item.
Great, thank you. And since we didn't have a report from our city manager, city attorney, Mr. Dowd, was there anything else you wanted to add, or was that it, public comment on 7?
Well, I would just like, as a matter of my colleagues and how they're doing, and has anyone been evacuated? Has anyone lost a home? And is there anything that we can do for each other? I thought I was going to have to be evacuated on Sunday night. It didn't happen, and it seems to have settled down. But I have concern for all of the other council members and the mayor and vice mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dowd. I appreciate that. I have not been evacuated, and I'm not sure. Well, I know none of our colleagues have lost their house. Anyone else like to share any information about your current situation?
I'll share. Dick, thanks for asking. I have not been home until late last night. I do not believe I was in a mandatory evacuation area. I think I was right on the edge, but hope you're doing well also.
Any additional comments? Mr. Sir, I see you're unmuted.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Dick. I just wanted to say that it seems as though, unfortunately, our residents are becoming accustomed to this kind of difficulty. And although we have some unexpected guests in our home, people are, although they tire from these from the fires and a number of other challenges to our community. They are accustomed to dealing with it, and as difficult as it is to become accustomed to dealing with difficulty, our community has come together, and I offer my appreciation and my praise for their ability to help their neighbors. Thank you.
Madam Vice Mayor, you have comments?
Yeah, first of all, I wanted to thank Mr. Dowd for making such a kind-hearted inquiry. I and my family are safe at the present moment, and I wanted to extend my gratitude to the men and women of our safety departments and our I also saw water department folks out there working today. And, just want to extend also my gratitude to all of our residents who heeded the warnings. And though they spent, over an hour in traffic, they did so that, their structures could be saved rather than, the main focus being on life safety. And overall, in spite of having lost some homes, this was a success because our residents and our safety officers are unfortunately getting good at listening to, our residents are getting really good at listening to our safety officer instructions. And I want to thank them so much and all the hard work that the men and women are out there doing. It's really quite incredible.
Thank you for that. And I would like to reiterate that also. I know hopefully everyone's been listening to the briefings, either the city-county joint briefings or the CAL FIRE briefings. But I think on the first one, they said, although some structures have been lost, the amount of homes that have been saved is incredible. And seeing that firsthand earlier today with Chief Gosner, I can't echo that enough. So it was a fabulous job done by everyone. And yes, it took an hour and a half to get out of Oakmont for some folks. But the other impressive thing that was reported this morning, 0 injuries, 0 fatalities. And that doesn't happen by accident. So I want to applaud everyone who is actually, hopefully, the information the city of Santa Rosa had provided regarding evacuation routes, the police department who did the high-low sirens, the fire department is there. It was a total community effort. And we're continuing, as Chief Gosner said, this fire's not over yet, but we're off to a great start, and it's very encouraging that we're actually having the discussions about repopulation. So thank you all, because this is, as Chief Navarro mentioned, it's a total team effort. I know city staff is already looking at some of the things regarding local assistance center. What else can we do to help rebuild based on some of the experiences we had in 2017? So paying it forward. So thank you all. Any other additional comments anyone would like to make, Mr. Sawyer?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to make a brief comment on your participation on KSRO, Councilmember Rogers' participation, and I'm not sure that I heard any other participation, but any of you that have been in touch with KSRO, they have been doing a phenomenal job of instructing and giving information to the community. We are so lucky to have them in our community, giving information, very timely information, more so than many. So thank you to KSRO. Thank you to those council members who have been on KSRO, giving current information, because people they're oftentimes just don't know who to go to, and they have been giving very insightful and important information to the community. And so thank you to them, and thank you to those council members who have had the opportunity to help with that information provision. So thank you very much.
Alrighty, anything else? So thank you all for those comments. Move to item 9, statements of abstention by council members. Do we have any statements of abstention? Seeing none. Mayor's, council members' reports. Anyone, please raise your hand if you would like to make a report out. All right, there is one report that I do want to make on item 10.1.9, home Sonoma County. So last week, seems like so long ago, but I think it was just last Friday, we held a meeting and we received some information from County Council that basically told us that the way the Leadership Council was formed back in 2017 and 2018 was not done in an appropriate manner. So the official continuum of care authority still rests with that body that was in place back in 2018. So the meeting was brief. We did not make any additional decisions because based on the county council opinion, we lost all authority. So it will revert back to the 15-member continuum of care that was in place in 2018. Fortunately, the city of Santa Rosa has always had a seat at that table. So we are in discussions now about what will be our next steps. The Community Development Commission is still the lead agency. So they're in the process of bringing back that former continuum of care, and I'll report out additional information as we learn it and we move forward. Any questions or comments about that information? I would also entertain if anyone has any thoughts or comments. Typically, we've had a staff person being part of the continuum of care, but this body kind of made the decisions to have 2 members with the new leadership council, myself and Mr. Oliveras. I would be interested, and I think the city manager would be interested in hearing what direction do we want to keep that position representing Santa Rosa as an elected person or a staff person. Mr. Rogers, your hand was up first.
Yeah, I think that the reason that we made it an elected person is to increase integration with some of the other decision makers at the county, as well as to show the public that we were serious about addressing this issue. And so I would be in favor of keeping that.
All right, Mr. Oliveras.
Thank you, Mayor. I would concur. And I think we've seen too that there are other cities within the county that also have expressed a strong interest in participating in this body because it is such an important issue. And I, for one, would want to explore any way possible to have you continue leading our efforts representing the city of Santa Rosa.
Thank you. Mr. Tibbetts, your hand is up.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. What I was going to say was similar to what Councilmember Rogers said. I think it's important that decision makers be at the table, but also staff. You know, I don't know if that means that they both sit on the decision-making body or we just make a concerted effort to make sure that department level staff, or at least program manager staff who's basically tasked with implementing these programs is with you or whomever is going to represent the council on the COC.
Okay, I would entertain a motion if someone so chooses to make that motion so we can have a little bit clearer direction for the city manager.
So moved.
I'll make a motion that the 2 members of Home Sonoma County still continue on to this new continuum of care as Santa Rosa's representatives.
Second.
I appreciate that, but unfortunately the city of Santa Rosa only has 1 seat on this new body.
Okay, then the mayor will fill that seat.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion on that?
Let's also, Mr. Mayor, if I could include in the motion that our 2nd member currently for Home Sonoma County serves as your alternate in the event that you can't attend the continuum of care.
Great, thank you for that clarification. Mr. Sir, are you okay with that?
I am indeed.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Madam City Clerk, could we do a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Councilmember Dowd?
Aye.
Councilmember Tibbetts?
Aye.
Councilmember Sawyer?
Aye.
Councilmember Rogers?
Aye.
Councilmember Oliveras?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Fleming?
Aye.
Mayor Schwedhelm?
Aye.
That motion passes with 7 ayes.
Great. Thank you for that. Any other council member reports? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, could you please facilitate a public comment portion since we did have a report on item 10?
Thank you, Mayor. A countdown timer will appear for the convenience of the speaker and viewers. The first speaker will be acknowledged and invited to speak when the countdown begins. Please make sure to unmute yourself when you're invited to do so. Your microphone will be muted at the end of that countdown. If you wish to make a comment via Zoom, please raise your hand. If you are dialing in via telephone, please dial *9 to raise your hand. This is your opportunity to speak on item 10, Mayor's Council members' reports. And seeing no hands raised, there are no voicemail or no email or e-comment, public comment for this item.
All right, thank you for that. Item 11, we had no minutes to approve. Consent calendars, item 12, consent, all have been continued to a future meeting date. Since it's not 5 o'clock yet, public comment on non-agenda matters, we will skip to item 14. Item 14.1, Mr. City Manager.
So I am going to be doing the presentation today because Adrian Mertens is doing a fantastic job coordinating the city's public information in response to the glass fire. This item is we don't always have this every year, but sometimes resolutions are brought forward and for a vote at the annual conference. That annual conference is next week. Next slide. And so this is your opportunity to review the resolution that is before the league's representatives and give a direction to your voting delegate on how you would like them to vote. Next slide. So before we get into the details of the proposed resolution, I just want to give you a review with you the guidelines for the annual conference resolutions, because there's actually 3 ways that you can instruct your delegate to vote. You can instruct your delegate to vote to support, to not support, or to essentially not take a position. So the guidelines for the annual conference resolution are as follows as written by the league. Number 1, only issues that have a direct bearing on municipal affairs should be considered or adopted at the annual conference. 2, the issue is not of purely local or regional concern. 3, the recommended policy should not simply restate existing league policy. 4, the resolution should be directed at achieving one of the following objectives. First objective is focus public or media attention on an issue of major importance to cities. Second is establish a new direction for league policy by establishing general principles around which more detailed policies may be developed by policy committees and the board of directors. The third item is consider important issues not adequately addressed by policy committees and the board of directors. And finally, which is not part of this conversation, amend the league bylaws, and that requires a 2/3 vote at the General Assembly. The resolution in front of you, which I'm sure you all have reviewed the league's documentation, is a resolution calling to take a position on amendment of Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act of 1996, which will require social media companies to remove materials which promote criminal activity. you can move forward. So this is a federal piece of legislation that provides immunity. And I'm sure the city attorney will correct me when I start to stray into legal areas where I have little expertise, but it provides immunity for the providers and users of in quotes interactive computer service. So pretty much anybody who's in the social media network, which is what is under discussion here, to publish and provide information by third-party users. So the proposed resolution intent is to, this is the intent by the folks proposing it, address the use of social media platforms for posting information that leads followers to meet and commit crimes. And then secondly, hold these platforms and persons who post this information civilly and criminally accountable for all costs incurred by local jurisdictions where the crimes occurred. Next slide. This is a resolution has been proposed by the city of Cerritos. If you will also notice, there are several other cities who have already put in letters of support. The item was in reaction to events where individuals use social media platforms to coordinate planned criminal activity on specific dates, times, and in planned locations. These occurrences resulted in economic harm for targeted businesses. Next slide. This resolution would direct the lead of California cities to call upon Congress to do the following. One, online platforms must establish and implement a reasonable program to identify and remove content which solicits criminal activity. Two, online platforms must provide to law enforcement information which will assist in the identification and apprehension of persons who use services of the platform to solicit and engage in criminal activity. Three, online platforms that willfully or negligently fail in either of those duties is not immune from enforcement of state and local laws. Next slide. Again, this is additional analysis provided by the League. The proposed policy objectives would incentivize social media companies to establish and implement a reasonable program to identify and remove content that solicits criminal activity. This is just, again, one thing to keep in mind is that the changes to Section 230, and this is where I'll probably need a little bit more assistance from Sue, will result in legal actions. The First Amendment, again, prohibits government from restricting any forms of speech, which would include proposals to force these tech companies to moderate content. And then additionally, the Fourth Amendment prevents searches, online platform data included, without a warrant based on probable cause. Next slide. There is no fiscal impact to the city's general fund. Next slide. It is recommended that you discuss this item. The reason we had to keep this item on the agenda is we will not meet again and you would not have a chance to give your delegate the instruction that they may need as they approach this item for consideration next week. And that concludes the presentation, and Sue is happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you for that presentation and referral of information. Council, do we have any questions? Vice Mayor Fleming.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. My question is either for Mr. McGlynn or Sue, which is, do we know what types of criminal activities spurred this recommendation from the League? Like what was happening in Cerritos?
Well, so the league isn't making a recommendation. The league is asking its body to make the recommendation. Just want to make clear on that. There was in the detail. I will pull up the actual league reference to this item. If you give me just a second. The City of Cerritos is sponsoring this resolution in reaction to events whereby persons using social media platforms, as I said before, the example they give is just days after the Lakewood Mall had been looted, the City of Cerritos uncovered online communications via social media that persons were planning to target that mall, and consequently the city felt compelled to undertake measures to protect the mall. And so
right. This is in direct response to speech that criminal or otherwise that followed the Black Lives Matter movement.
I can't. I'm not having been there. I would say the timing suggests that is the case, that there is a similar timing, but not being able to have the City of Cerritos tell you directly why they're sponsoring that. I would say you're hearing the event, you're hearing the timing of the event.
Thank you.
Council, any additional questions for the city manager or for our city attorney? Seeing none. Did we lose Mr. Rogers? Well, Mr. Rogers has this item, but I entertain, does anyone like to make a motion on this item? Mr. Sawyer?
Thank you, Mayor, but I need to pull it up. I can, hold on just one moment. And probably by the time I pull this up, Mr. Rogers will already be here.
John, I've got it if you want me to just jump in, or I can stand by.
Thank you, Mr. Tibbetts. If you've got to go ahead.
Okay. I move a resolution of the council that the Communications and Intergovernmental Relations Office, by motion, A, consider taking a position on a proposed LOCC resolution calling for the amendment of Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act of 1996 to require social media companies to remove materials which promote criminal activity, and B, provide associated direction to its voting delegate for the upcoming meeting of the League General Assembly, and waive for the reading.
Second.
If I can just get clarification, I think the motion we need is A, do we want to take a position, and what is that position? The city manager gave us 3 options, and B, with that option, give direction to the voting delegate as to how to vote. Do I have that correct, Madam City Attorney?
Yeah, I think you do.
Yes, that's correct. What we need is direction as to whether to take a position, and if so, to support or oppose the proposed resolution. And I'll also note I am happy to answer any of the legal questions as well if you have them.
I can, for the sake of argument, unless Mayor, you want to do a straw poll or thumbs up, thumbs down, I'll say take a position of support on LOCC resolution calling for the amendment of Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act of 1996 to require social media companies to remove materials which promote criminal activity and provide associated direction to its voting delegate for the upcoming meeting of the League General Assembly, and waive further reading.
I would second that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion amongst council?
Through the mayor, would we not take public comment before, or will we have an additional opportunity for public comment?
You're right. It's my bad.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, sir. I just wanted to know if this was my last opportunity to comment.
No, you're right. Any additional questions from council? If not, then let's please go to public comment on item 14.1. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. If you wish to make a comment via Zoom, please raise your hand. If you are dialing in via telephone, please dial *9 to raise your hand. A countdown timer will appear for the convenience of the speaker and viewers. The first speaker will be acknowledged and invited to speak when the countdown begins. Please make sure to unmute yourself when you are invited to do so. Your microphone will be muted at the end of that countdown. And this is the public's opportunity to speak on item 14.1. Mayor, seeing no hands raised. There were no voice message, public comment, or email or e-comment, public comment on this item.
Great. Thank you for facilitating that. Bring back to council. Were there any additional comments or questions? Seeing none. Oh, you do have a question or comment, Madam Vice Mayor?
I do. I have some concern about this. It's not because of wanting to support any type of criminal activity, but based on the timing of it and the restriction of civil rights and a quick scan of the Cerritos City Council showing no Latino or African American or Indigenous members of their council, and just wanting to make sure that that we don't too quickly support something that's a hasty response to the unrest that we saw. And, I don't want my lack of support for this to be construed as a support for any type of criminal behavior, but I think that a reactive, that we need to be more thoughtful and rather than reactive, especially when it comes to restricting the civil rights of the residents of the United States, California, and the city of Santa Rosa.
Any additional comments or statements? Mr. Tibbetts.
Thanks, Mayor. I wasn't anticipating doing this, but after giving it some thought, I'm going to be voting against it. My hope is that by voting no, we simply do not take a position on it. And the reason for me is that it's not a matter of, liberal or conservative politics. It's just, for better or for worse, Facebook and social media sites are an avenue with which people organize. And I don't know if I like the idea of the government determining what is an acceptable form of organizing, because I think that there's too much gray that exists between those determinations and the objectives of the government. So I'll be voting no on this one.
Any additional comments? I would just say, reading the staff report in the League of California Cities staff analysis, what struck me is, the city of Cerritos experience, whereas, again, I'm reading straight from the report, events whereby persons using social media platforms to coordinate locations, dates, and times for their planned criminal activity. And that's the big thing for me, criminal activity, have committed acts of looting and vandalism, resulting in both actual economic harm for targeted businesses and pecuniary loss to cities who use resources to prevent such acts from occurring when such plans are discovered. To me, there's got to be a consequence if someone is actually encouraging criminal behavior. Again, not protected activities, but criminal behavior. There should be consequences. So I'd be in support of the motion. Any additional comments? Mr. Rogers, you've rejoined us. Any comments, or do you need to get up to speed as to where we sit?
No, I don't have any additional comments on it. Thank you.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, could we get a roll call vote, please?
Okay, can you repeat the motion? Because right now I have it as to take a position to support the LOCC resolution, and that is being moved by Councilmember Tibbetts. and seconded by Councilmember Sawyer.
That's what I heard.
Okay. Let me just put this up here. Oops. Okay, Councilmember Dowd,
Aye.
Councilmember Tibbetts,
No.
Councilmember Sawyer,
Aye.
Councilmember Rogers,
No.
Councilmember Oliveras,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Fleming,
No.
Mayor Schwedhelm.
Aye.
That motion passes with 4 ayes.
All right, and Madam City Attorney, that's the only motion we need, because I heard as a voting rep on a 4-3 vote, it's to support that amendment.
Yes, since the motion did receive 4 votes, there's that gives the direction that was requested.
Okay, thank you very much for that item. On to item 14.2, Mr. City Manager.
Item 14.2. Resolution ratification of proclamation of local emergency. Sue, do you want to?
Yes, yes. In order to consider, let me back up. The acting city manager on Sunday evening issued a proclamation of existence of a local emergency relating to the what is now known as the Glass Fire. At the time was the Shady Fire. And we're asking now for the council to ratify that proclamation. Under our city code, that proclamation is survives for 7 days. If the council does not ratify the proclamation within that 7 days, the proclamation expires. Before you can vote on whether to ratify the proclamation, we're going to have to take a preliminary step. This is an item that obviously arose after the agenda was published. So we are proposing that the council take this up essentially off agenda. So this was placed on the agenda just yesterday. The Brown Act does allow the council to take items off agenda under 3 different circumstances. I think the one that is most relevant, most appropriate for you to vote on is that if the council decides by a 2/3 vote, that means 5 affirmative votes for our council, that there is a need to take immediate action, and that the need for action arose after the posting of the agenda. So obviously the request for action, the underlying facts arose after the agenda. The reason that we're asking for you to take this up today is that there is no other council meeting within the next 5 or 6 days. So yeah, we're not meeting, the council is not meeting next Tuesday, but even if it were, the proclamation would have expired by that time. So we are asking you to consider a ratification of the proclamation in order to keep that proclamation in effect. And that will keep it in effect then until the council determines that it's no longer necessary.
So first step would be to entertain a motion to put it on the agenda as an emergency.
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Rogers, second by Mr. Sawyer. Any additional comments just to get it on the agenda by council? Madam City Clerk, could we have a roll call vote on that, please?
Yes, Councilmember Dowd,
Aye.
Councilmember Tibbetts,
Aye.
Councilmember Sawyer,
Aye.
Councilmember Rogers,
Aye.
Councilmember Oliveras.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Fleming,
Aye.
Mayor Schwedhelm.
Aye.
That motion passes with 7 ayes.
You may now proceed on to consider the request for ratification.
Thank you. Council, any questions on the information our city attorney or city manager provided? Seeing none, we're now taking public comment on item 14.2. If you wish to make a comment via Zoom, please raise your hand. If you're dialing in via telephone, please dial *9 to raise your hand. You'll have 3 minutes. Madam Host, would you please facilitate public comment on item 14.2?
Thank you, Mayor. A countdown timer will appear for the convenience of the speaker and viewers. The first speaker will be acknowledged and invited to speak when the countdown begins. Please make sure to unmute yourself when you are invited to do so. Your microphone will be muted at the end of that countdown. And this is the public's opportunity to speak on item 14.2, ratification of declaration of local emergency. Mayor, seeing no hands raised. There were no voice message public comment or email or comment public comment on this item.
All right, thank you. Bring back to council. Any additional questions? Seeing none, Mr. Rogers, I believe you have this item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will move the resolution approving the Assistant City Manager's actions and waive further reading of the text.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rogers, seconded by Mr. Sawyer. Any final comments? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, can we do a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Councilmember Dowd. Councilmember Dowd.
Aye.
Councilmember Tibbetts.
Aye.
Councilmember Sawyer.
Aye.
Councilmember Rogers.
Aye.
Councilmember Oliveras.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Fleming.
Aye.
Mayor Schwedhelm.
Aye.
That motion passes with 7 ayes.
Great. Thank you so much for that. Okay, we'll go back now to item 13. Since I have a little bit after 5, we're now taking public comment on item 13, non-agenda matters. This is the time when any person may address the council on matters not listed on this agenda, but which are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. If you wish to make a comment via Zoom, please raise your hand. If you're dialing in via telephone, please dial *9 to raise your hand. We'll take 10 speakers. Actually, we'll take as many speakers as would like to speak on this item. If we have more than 10 public comments on item 13, sorry, we're going to do it all on this item. Madam Host, would you please facilitate the public comment portion of this agenda?
Thank you, Mayor. A countdown timer will appear for the convenience of the speaker and viewers. The first speaker will be acknowledged and invited to speak when the countdown begins. Please make sure to unmute yourself when you are invited to do so. Your microphone will be muted at the end of that countdown. And the first speaker that we have is Shirley and Bob. Please unmute your microphone and identify yourself for public record if you so choose.
Yeah, this is Shirley Cheel. I just want to applaud your efforts with the planning and implementation with regard to the warnings and evacuation. Having had just 20 minutes to get out the house 3 years ago, I was still fearful on Sunday once again, but the available information gave me confidence that the city was there to support and help. So thanks to Mayor Schwedhelm, City Council, the Fire Police Department, and all the city staff. I was particularly concerned for those vulnerable folks sheltering at Los Gilicus and was very thankful to hear that those folks were safely transported out of the evacuation area. I also want to say particular thank you to Councilman Tibbetts, from whom we got an email, those people living in the northeast of Santa Rosa, with links and maps about the fire announcement. So I just want to let you know I am so thankful for all you're doing and making Santa Rosa a safe place to live. Thank you.
Thank you. And this is your opportunity to speak on item 13, non-agenda matters. Mayor, seeing no hands raised, no additional hands raised. There were no voice message public comment. There was an email or e-comment public comment. Madam City Clerk will read email and e-comment public comments received before the 5 p.m. deadline.
Thank you. Comment, excuse me, comment received from David Long. At Sunrise Place, our neighborhood is being severely disrupted by occupants of corporately owned and or managed short-term rental properties. A city ordinance that severely restricts or eliminates the ability of unhosted short-term rentals should be adopted without delay. A neighborhood group comprised of more than 50 residents shares my concerns. The Sonoma County plus many other nearby municipalities have placed restrictions on this type of rental, and the city of Santa Rosa has been extremely lackadaisical in not following suit. The fact that the city classifies short-term rental properties as hotels for the purpose of collecting transient occupancy tax is particularly revealing. Hotels should not be a permitted use in any residential zone. The problem in our neighborhood is especially severe because corporations and individuals are targeting acquisition of homes with 4 or more bedrooms, often with swimming pools, and marketing them through Airbnb, VRBO, and similar internet means to groups that often exceed 15 persons. The owners, managers, and occupants of these unhosted short-term rentals are almost exclusively from out of the area and do not care about or are not capable of exercising the restraint necessary to prevent disruptive, unsafe, and unhealthy activities. I understand that the City Council prefers to govern in a reactive and inclusive mode by waiting for citizen input rather than being proactive. While I appreciate the intent of such policy, it does not bode well in many instances, especially one like this where the issue is right under your noses. Please consider this your official notice that unhosted short-term rentals are already a problem in Santa Rosa, and the problem is rapidly growing. Any reason or excuse put forward about why this issue cannot rise immediately to be a high priority for the council is, in my opinion, without merit. Compared to the homeless issue, COVID, and wildfires, it is extremely simple. Developing a new draft ordinance can leverage one of the many already in use across the county, state, and nation. I suggest starting with Portland, Oregon. It need not consume significant staff resources. I'll even produce one for you if asked. It is clear that unhosted short-term rentals do not belong in any residential neighborhood. Any argument to the contrary is favoring monetary interests over quality of life in our city. Thank you. That concludes email or comment received.
Okay, thank you for that, facilitating that portion. And I do want to thank Shirley for hanging out and providing that feedback, because the difference she had mentioned between 2017 and 2020 is incredible. And it's due to all behind the scenes work that Mr. City Manager, you and your staff have been doing and paying it forward. So it's nice to hear some community feedback, because the results were very clear. All right, with that, item 15, public hearings, we have none, no written communications. And with that, no further agenda items. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you for your participation.